Hey love tubers, I'm back. I'm gonna go through lesson law 22. Last video cut off on me. I'm so sorry, but it was time for me to go back into the back side of the office anyway at that time, so it actually ended just in time, even though it was abruptly. All right, law 22, let's get to it. Of Pimpology by Pimpin. Keep hoes on their toes. Habit is either the best of servants or the worst of masters. Nathaniel Emmons. The life. I had a hoe named Carmen, a fine young hoe who I didn't want to get out on me. I knew that I had to be really tight to keep this hoe in check. Every time she got used to a spot, I would tell her to pack up her and I would send her to another city. This cost me a lot of money, but it had a purpose. Every time she got to a new city, she had to spend the majority of her time learning it. She didn't have time to think about much else. She also depended heavily on me for valuable information. There weren't too many places that I hadn't pimped before, and I knew just about every pitfall and sweet spot. When she wasn't on track, she spent her time talking to me on the phone. I was her only friend. Once a month, I would drop in and check on her. She would look forward to my visits because she knew that for the day it would be just me and her. She felt special. Very few pimps can pimp on this level. You may not see a hoe for weeks at a time, but she still sends you that money. In the game, we call this the automatic. I learned this move from my man JD. The dude had hoes in many cities. He wouldn't see them but once every 3 months, and these hoes were breaking themselves automatically. One day before I really got deep in the game, we got into a debate about this. Man, them hoes are beating the heck out of you. I said, they are beating and cheating you. You know dang well they are not sending you the full trap. Little bro, I'm going to call the B word a female instead, a witch, a female instead. Little bro, if a female sends 1,000, I still break even, he said. I would spend more than that on shopping for the female, buying food for the female, and gas to follow that female around. We go follow around. None of which I have to do when she's not here. As long as they think they're beating me by stealing and they are still sending me something, I'm ahead of the game. They're only really stealing from themselves. The only way I can lose is if the female wakes up and says, FJD, and keeps all of the money. Damn, I thought, he sees this game from a whole other perspective. Pimpin, I play chess with these hoes, he told me. I move them around like pawns and I stay checking them. The ism. One of the best ways to keep a hoe off balance is to move her around. If a hoe is in a location too long, she will get used to the place and her mind will wander to her own thoughts. She may think she doesn't need a pimp, and why not keep all the money for herself? Without roots, even the mightiest tree can be easily moved here and there. People are the same way. Without strong ties to a place, family, or loved ones, they can be easily manipulated and controlled. If you can keep a person off balance, they'll be too busy trying to regain stability to try to unbalance you. Keep them in check. All right. Law 23. A hoe joins a stable to ruin it. One bad apple can spoil the whole bushel. Proverb. The life. Aquarius was one slick pimp with a nice stable of hoes. He told me, you have to screen a hoe to the fullest when she first joins your stable. I was young and had no idea what he was talking about. I said, the next hoe you knock, why don't you let me sit in on it so I can see how you put it down, big pimpin'. I'm going to call the N-I-G-G-A a Negro. The Negro was an egomaniac. I knew if I pumped his ego, he'd do anything for me. One day we were riding the track on Martin Luther King Avenue and he got at one dope fiend's pimp's hoe. Female, your pimp's like Boo Boo the rabbit. He's got a dope habit, Aquarius said. If you don't make that move, you'll be next. He's going to have you shooting that female. Believe that. Come and join my stable, where a hoe is always able. She looked at Aquarius, indicating that she was down with that move. That's my hoe, young pimpin', he said to me. Shh, if she ain't, I said, man, she was looking at you so hard, I started to wipe my eyeballs off your forehead with this napkin. He laughed and said, you are fly as hell for a young pimp. We pulled off. By the time we got to the corner, the hoe was waving Aquarius down. He told her to get in the back seat and then drilled the hoe like a drill sergeant. Female, what's your pimp's number so I can call him and serve him? Woo! How many kids do you have? What's your mama's now? Have you ever been with another woman? Have you ever stashed money on your pimp? What's the most money you ever made at one time? Can you get along with other hoes? Aquarius asked that hoe 101 questions. After he broke her, he served her pimp and put her back down on track. We pulled off and the lesson began. Young dog, a hoe will wreck a stable in a minute. He said, I asked her all those questions to try to get a feel for her. Is she jealous? How does she feel about her mama? If she doesn't love her mama or her kids, a pimp or another hoe doesn't stand a chance. When I asked her the most money she made, I asked that so I could see her response. I can look into her eyes and see if her eyes get big, see if she has a love for money. If she likes money, I will put her with my top money-making hoes, and they can battle it out to see who can bring in the most. The more questions you ask a hoe, the more she talks. The more she talks, the more you'll find out if she can fit in with your other hoes and if she's fit for your pimping. I had to give it to Aquarius. He knew how to keep them hoes under control. As I got deeper into the game, I was able to execute the valuable game that I got from him. If I screened a hoe and she was a problem hoe, I separated her from the good ones. I may not have gotten rid of her, but I definitely did not allow her to mess up my stable. The ism. In the pimp game, we call a group of hoes a stable, but really there's nothing less stable. It takes a lot of work to keep any household in balance, much less a group of jealous and competitive women sharing one man. The pimp is the boss, and there are two things employees love most: undermining the boss and undermining each other. Ooh, wait. Ooh, toes. It only takes one negative element to ruin all of the hard work of running a smooth operation. You have to prevent negativity from coming in, and if it gets by you, you have to chase it out immediately. You don't play with a bad seed, thinking you can change it. If it sets down roots, it will be that much more difficult for you to pull that sucker up and get rid of it. It is a healthy person going to rub off his good health and make a sick person well? No, it never works that way. How much time I got? Oh yeah, Law 24. It showed a picture of T.I. and Jay-Z. Not quite sure why, but okay. Set the trend. By the song's end, I'll probably start another trend. Oh, well, no wonder it showed him. Jay-Z, 30-something. The life. I don't know a cat in the game who set more trends internationally than my man JD. Back in the 1970s, JD and I were the first young dudes in our hood to get our hair pressed. For youngsters who don't know what the business is, we got our hair permed. Just a few weeks later, it seemed like the whole hood was on that too. He had all of us drinking Moet before a rapper even rhymed about it. We were wearing designer sunglasses at night before that became popular. JD was always thinking about what he would do next. One time he pulled up with some pictures of us on which he had drawn crowns on our heads. No one in our pimp circle was wearing crowns at that point, but when we started doing it, it took off. Once I decided I was truly going to be in the game, the first thing I said was that I was going to set the standards on how Negroes put it down. In Milwaukee, a lot of the so-called players and pimps were wearing tennis shoes and casual I said, F that. I am wearing gaiters like the vets wear. I had to separate myself from the tennis shoe wearing young lames. Come through. The next thing I knew, everybody switched their style up and started imitating young Pimpin. And Pips up, pose down, you will see me in a black and white mink. After that, all the other dudes started rocking the two-tone minks. In 1993, I was in New York City, and I just bought a presidential Rolex with the bell set. I used to frequent the Diamond District, and I started buying my jewelry from this dude who had a store right on the corner of 47th Street. His name was Jacob. Everybody in the rap game was effing with Tito up the street. I brought my watch and headed up the street to holler at Tito. Standing outside his store was Biggie Smalls and Lil Cease. They said they were waiting for Puffy to pull up. Biggie saw my watch and was impressed. Man, that's a cold mother effer, Biggie said. Next thing, he and Lil Cease went to holler at Jacob. 2 years later, everybody was effing with Jacob the jeweler. Come on, I like Jacob the jeweler. When I first started wearing Marty Gators 10 years before I became a spokesman and model for them, players would come up and ask, what type of gators are you wearing? They are so pimpish. I would tell them they were Maurice. The next thing I knew, everybody was on their Maury. Shh. When I first started effing with the rap cats, there wasn't a single pimp who had appeared on a CD spitting game or appearance in videos. I didn't do it to start a trend, but that's what happens when you do your best. The ism. The true leader is someone who people want to follow because that person is doing things that no one else is doing. You set the standards and trends people follow, and it gives you the appearance of being superior to the people who imitate you. Sometimes people will take your style and try to make people think it's really theirs, but you can't get mad because the people who imitate you more often than not want to be you. Do things in such a way that people want to follow your lead. Don't be a follower. Don't ask what happened. Make that happen. Awesome. 22. Let's do 23. Let's do 25. I had wanted to do 5 today. This 5 marks the spot. Law 25. Grind for your shine. There's a picture of Puff Daddy. In lights, camera, and action, you know what I'm saying, Kenny Red. Pimp so hard, a Negro drag his mink on the floor. Puff Daddy, the world is filled. The life. One of the biggest misconceptions is that a pimp is someone who wears loud suits and big hats or shoes with glass heels with fish swimming around in them. Those are clowns, not pimps. Everyone loves a clown, but no one wants to take a clown home. When I was pimping, I looked more like a Wall Street executive than the stereotype of a pimp. When I went casual, I was still classy. The Gucci leather, classic jeans, and Timberlands. A pimp style is not in the label, it's just a certain look that stands out. You could stand out with looking like a clown, and I always looked for things that were different. A lot of younger pimps wear things like gator jackets with minks. That's cool. But the probability of a square wearing that are slim to none, and that's what a pimp cares about. He has to distinguish himself from the average Joe on the street. My Gucci coat cost $1,500, and a hoe would know that. I have knocked many a hoe in my career simply because of my style. A hoe wants to be seen with the flyest Negro on the street, so I made it my business to be that Negro. The ism. It makes a hoe feel extra good when her pimp looks extra good. She wants to see something for her investment, and her pimp shine is how she shows it off. His job is to sell her a dream of glamour, success, and the life she never had. That sounds like most of these folks out here today, don't it? Yeah, and they won't even consider some of these folks pimps, but they took that line literally. All right, he's got to look the part he's playing. They don't even look the part they playing. When you're looking sharp, you notice you get more respect than you get otherwise. You gain some luster. This affects how you handle yourself. People tend to act the way they look, so make sure you look like a winner. All successful people understand we are judged by our appearance. The tighter your look, the greater your potential for advancement. If you're trying to reach the top, you better pay attention to detail, from your haircut down to the heels of your shoes. I am halfway through the book. More than halfway. All right. It's a wrap for today. I'm gonna pack up. Thank you for joining me with Pimpology, lessons 20 to 25. Is it 20? 21. 21. Hold on. 22. I ended 21 when I was sitting at the place, so 22 to 25. I think. I'll make sure momentarily here in a minute and before I post it up. But I thank you for tuning in. If you like, hit the subscribe and the like button, okay? And I will see you next time for Pimpology.